It's Sunday evening, and you just finished binge watching the recently trending TV series. You take a glance at the clock, and it's already way past your bedtime. And as you start to worry about all the missing deadlines on your desk, your phone chimes just in time to distract you from the agonizing anticipation of consequences. Your days are stuck in a cycle with technology sucking your time and attention faster than you can keep them. The average person in the United States spends about 4 hours and 30 minutes on their phone every single day. Per week, that is 31 hours and 30 minutes. But to give you an approximation of how long just that may be, it's actually equivalent to that of a full-time job in a week. But converting that, the person has spent 68 days of the year solely on their device. Almost 1/5 of our lives are dedicated only to staring at a screen and interacting on the minimum. Well, that is a significant amount of time, if you ask me. It's even crazy. Like, nowadays, smartphones have this feature that lets you track and see your own screen time. Some even give you weekly reports. I'm sure most of you have checked in on that occasionally, and you were pretty disappointed with the results, because how productive were you actually while on your phone or on your computer? Sometimes I myself even average 8 hours or more for screen time in a day, and it's devastating to feel like I'm wasting the majority of my life just like that. I could have read half a book in this time. I could have finished my laundry or even my assignment. Well, why do we keep coming back to our phones? We know it's wasting our time. But why do we find ourselves coming back? Why do we find ourselves coming back? Well, according to a survey called American Screen Time Habits by State, conducted by simple texting, boredom, curiosity, wanting to be informed, loneliness, necessity in work, health purposes are the main reasons why people access these platforms in the first place. It's apparent to see here and in real life that the meaningful usage of devices keeps decreasing. Sending pictures of ceilings or random objects to keep streaks alive on Snapchat, or dedicating long hours or sometimes even a whole day to take pictures of yourself, which then you can post maybe on Instagram or Facebook to get that boost of dopamine through like buttons, are just few examples of what I observe in my daily life. This specific degrading societal trend is influencing more and more people to form the habit of reaching for their phones when they're bored, when they have free time, when they're in the bathroom, they're going to sleep and waking up. Our devices are just there for the majority of our lives now. And the frequency of notifications and the information provided to us are increasing non-stop at an insane rate even. Well, I realized the significance of this problem when I first discovered this documentary called The Social Dilemma on Netflix. It came out in January of 2020, and I wish I had found out about it earlier. Or maybe it's just that I wished this discussion was raised earlier. Directed by Jeff Orlovsky, the documentary talks about how screen addiction and dependence, seemingly small things we don't usually take great attention to solving, actually leads to the bigger problems in life, starting with disinformation, hate speech, propaganda, political polarization, etc. It causes issues in every possible factor you may think of, whether it be social, political, environmental, you name it. It's a severe humanitarian problem. And Tristan Harris, American technology ethicist, who was a former Google employee, rose up to address this problem and act on it. He is now the president and co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology, and I'm very grateful for him having raised this discussion, and I want to share his, and soon to be the world's movement, today with you all. Well, then let's take a step back and think. The internet, mobile phones, laptops, desktops, TVs, why are they created in the first place? Well, I think that's pretty obvious, as they were created to make our lives easier, more convenient, and just generally more entertaining. I think we've experienced that side of technology already for some time now, and as many others will, I do admit that our lives have developed substantially with the help of these technologies. But mind you, Their initial creation was actually for the purpose of the devices becoming tools to us. So how would you define a tool? Well, a lot of different sources define a tool in a lot of different aspects, but I would define a tool as something that can be used to our advantage. We benefit from using them, and the tools themselves will just remain as is. But looking back to the current problem, do you think that really is the case right now? Are we really using those devices to our advantage, or are they using us to their advantage? Okay, well then take this scenario. Imagine you're working on your homework, or maybe on a job project, and your phone is right next to you, and someone texts you, and you're tempted to pick up the phone. Maybe this is important. If I don't check the message, what if I miss out on something? These thoughts are constantly fluctuating in our subconscious mind, driving us crazy, so we pick up the phone and respond. After being interrupted, we have to return to what we were doing, right? You might think that you just pick up the phone and then reply and just get back to what you were doing. It sounds very fair and simple, but the cost of a distraction is much more weighty than we actually think it is, because it takes us 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully regain the level of concentration that we once had before receiving that notification. Just think about how many times you get interrupted in a day by your phone, and multiply that by about 25 minutes. Okay. And even worse, society has already implemented into the minds of our parents, and generally everyone, that this addiction is solely because of poor willpower. Okay. Society has made people think that we're lazy, unmotivated, and unwilling to move on to other things. Especially in Mongolia, parents are always saying things like, kids nowadays are always glued to their phones or computers. Okay, we always get yelled at, and we know it's bad, we have to stop, but we just can't win against technology. Hence, our short-lived entertainment we get is always met with constant guilt and stress. Well then, just what if our so-called weak willpower was not the main factor to blame? What if we were all just taken advantage of? Have you ever thought about it in that way? Now, these companies are some of the richest corporations in the world. We often hear the names of their rich CEOs and how advanced their services are becoming. But we use their services for free. Not a single cent given from us for registering, logging in, and just being on the platform. So that's a bit weird. Where are these companies getting all their money from? They have to generate their revenue from somewhere, and it has to be from us, since we're the customers, and they make services for us, right? But some of you may already know, advertisements. The business models of companies like these are built on the extractive attention economy. The users, our attention is treated as some sort of a scarce and a finite resource, just like gold. When companies build their services around it, carefully adjusting and monitoring the amount of attention that we give them. And the system melts is designed to keep our attention aligned with the platforms as much as possible, so that more and more ads can be kept being pushed into our minds. And it's probably and possibly the only most effective way to get people to buy things right now. The longer we interact and pass by advertisements, the wealthier these companies get. Okay, well then the like button, scrolling through an infinite feed, swift sliding to move to chat or camera, or follow buttons present everywhere. Do these functions require effort from us? I don't think so. After a while of using the apps, these simple features almost get embedded into our consciousness that we can easily just recall. One tap this, one tap that. And sometimes software and app developers are truly fascinating, as they got us all hooked on these devices. And they're also very experienced psychologists too, it seems like. Our behavior and activity is relevantly observed all the time for the companies to make even more accurate recommendations, more effective manipulation, etc. Because sometimes even I myself is genuinely surprised when a video relating to a thing I was just talking about pops up on my YouTube feed. Like, that's crazy. What? And through constant observation and updates, they always find a way for us to dig the hole deeper and to make the problem worse. But what's ironic is that the technology developers and the corporations' former presidents themselves have fallen into their own creations and cannot see a way out. I'll give you an example. Tim Kendall. He's Facebook's former executive and Pinterest's former president and Moment's CEO. He has once said in an interview that he couldn't get off his phone no matter how hard he tried, despite bearing the responsibility of a father. Quoting him word to word, he said that, "God, this is classic irony. I'm going to work during the day to build something that then I'm falling prey to." Well, it's time we start building demand for humane technology. One where it does not exploit our time and attention. One where the softwares and algorithms are solely used as tools to suit the best of us, not the worst of us. Now, quoting from Tristan Harris, it's not about technology being the existential threat. It's actually about the technology's ability to bring out the worst in society, and the worst in society being the existential threat. So what exactly is humane technology? Well, you may recall that I've mentioned tools earlier in this talk. To put it simply, we just need to transform what we already and currently have into tools. Our human needs, whether it be meaningful communication, efficient access to valuable and valid information, and many others, should be met through the devices rather than our vulnerabilities be used for profit. It's technology that's designed to be socially responsible, providing benefits for its users and the society without causing the commonly observed negatives, such as the addiction, manipulation, dependence, outrage. The list goes on and on. Well then, do not disturb, turn notifications off, content filter, bedtime reminder, hiding counts of likes, permission to track user activity, and more recently, iOS 15 has added a focus feature on iPhones that supposedly helps users concentrate and reduce distraction. And the movement may start with baby steps like this. At least the companies are recognizing that this is a problem and they're making small movements towards it. But you know what it's actually like? It's actually like saying plastic straws should be banned during the age of climate change. Such little tweaks are not enough. We need something with an overwhelming magnitude. We need something bigger and better. So the movement itself may be suggesting that there should be a complete system renewal in the technology ecosystem that we know today. We need to change the business models first, and then the design. We need to change the business model first, and then the goals, and then the design. Example 4 questions. You may answer them with yes or no in your mind. Do you mostly feel satisfied after you've used the platforms? Are you in full control of your psychology and behavior while using those platforms? Are you certain that your sensitive information, such as your credit card info or your home address, are stored safely? The majority, if not all of the information on the internet, are they credible and true? When the answers become yes, we may have the assurance of concrete and collective development towards more ethical tech. And better tech will aid in solving every other problem that we have in our life. Can you imagine a future where instead of getting distracted and sidetracked, we actually have enhanced tools to help us concentrate in a superhuman way? Instead of being provided with information overload, we have the power to put our attention where we genuinely care about and where we exactly want to. Instead of being dependent for social validation, we have new systems that are just all about empowering and including. So generally, to solve a problem, you have to be 100% affirmative of your cause and reason. hence an alliance united for change. When citizens share stories and demand reform from those technology companies, and students organize and grow the movement. Educators teach about harms and solutions. Technologists work to redesign. Policymakers craft laws for accountability. Investors shift funding towards humane technology. But this is merely a rough outline for what should be up ahead for us. And we're only at the starting point. You know, raising awareness, calling to join the movement, waking up. So as an individual who belongs to Generation Z, I would love to see sophisticated, more ethical, and more humane technology incorporated into our lives for the next generation in our imagined future. Thank you.